Hey 12, it's the Seahawks Squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
What up, 12s? Seahawks Squad Show is now live. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. I got Corbin Smith, I got Chris Crawford, and myself, Anderson Hirst, hanging out with you this evening. Really appreciate everyone coming and spending some time with us as we talk Seahawks 49ers. We do a nice little film study with my all-22 guru, Corbin Smith, joins the show. We're going to have the first half of the show be about a measured, shall I say, reaction to the game on Sunday. Obviously, our episode right after the game, it's raw emotions. You don't have time to look at the film. You don't have time to compare it to the rest of the NFL at that point. It's all about you lost a home game to your division rival for the game one of the NFL season. There's going to be some overreactions, obviously. So I want to see just how much of an overreaction it is, and that's why I brought my two experts with me today. To kind of break that down for me. Tell me how I should feel as the fan, okay? Where are some things that are getting blown out of proportion and maybe some things that deserve a little more light shown on them here on the Seahawks Squad Show. We'll do that, and then we'll preview some Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half of the show today. Aaron Rodgers, big day. DK Metcalf plays against his former team. Lots of ways we can go with that one. But let's start it with Sunday's game, Corbin Smith, because I got Chris Crawford's reaction on the Seahawks Squad Show right after. Forgive me if you've mentioned this a few times, both on the Locked On Seahawks show as well as Emerald City Spectrum, but just your initial takeaways coming out of the game in a general sense of the term for the Seahawks against the 49ers on Sunday.
Well, Anders, how the saying goes, it's never as good as you think, and it's never as bad as you think. And at least in this case, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Okay. Going back and watching the All-20. And look, this was a close game throughout. It's not like this game ever got away from the Seahawks. It's not like the 49ers physically imposed their will. I know there's some fans that have been arguing, they had the ball 38 minutes. They did what they wanted to do. It's like, not all that's on the defense. The offense going 3 for 10 on third down and having a bunch of 3-and-outs and turning the ball over. Like, there's a lot of different things to consider there. But I left my film study, and I'll have more observations up on emeraldcityspectrum.com tonight. I'm wrapping that up after the show here. But I left with more positives than negatives. I feel similar to what Mike McDonald did saying yesterday that, his reaction would have been pretty similar if the Seahawks eked that game out in terms of there was a lot of things that he felt good about. I thought both teams, particularly on defense, made a lot of really nice plays, and it was a well-grounded defensive game for both sides. You could tell that both teams were coached really well on that side of the football. But I do want to say one thing that has been driving me absolutely bonkers since the end of that game. The number of people that are immediately, I know quarterbacks get their fingers pointed at them, but I don't know how anybody could watch that game and say, you know what? I think the Sam Darnold signing was a dud. How are you coming out of that game feeling that way? He completed almost 70% of his throws. He was, I believe PFF had him tied for third for the shortest average time in the pocket. And a lot of that was his own doing because he was getting rid of the football. He was being decisive. He was throwing with great anticipation. He had a couple throws get away from him, but he also had a couple that, like, there was a third down throw to Cooper Kupp that Cooper Kupp, usually with a blindfold on, is going to catch that ball. And he somehow did it. That was a huge missed opportunity, and Kupp lamented it after the game. Like, that's not a play I missed. Yeah. And that's not on the QB. He put the ball where it needed to be for them to move the chains. When they let him throw downfield, they had a couple of really nice 20-yard completions. They had the 40-yard at the end of the game. I just felt like Clint Kubiak did not help his quarterback at all, and he had a rock-solid game in spite of that. It was a very cautious, guarded offensive day with a lot of schematic things that I did not expect to see at all. And in spite of all that, I thought Sam Darnold He is the least of the issue is why Seattle put up 13 points in this game.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before. Quarterback in the NFL is the most contextual position, I think, of any of them. Yep. You can do your job, and I think most people who watch the game just kind of draw the conclusion of, well, they scored 13 points. Sam Darnold didn't, light up the scoreboard in terms of yards either. I immediately put it on him. The defense did their job, right? So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a lazy take, so to speak. I don't know, Chris Crawford, do you agree with the assessment that Sam Darnold was not the main issue for the Seahawks on offense?
Yeah, I would agree that he was not the main issue. There's some stuff that bugged me. I still think we talked about it on Sunday. I do think there were times where he struggled to get off of his top target, which was weird because he got rid of the football very quickly. But I would have liked to have seen a little more progression from him. That was the one thing that I came in with. And then the misthrow on the drive at the end of the second half where he's just too early with that football, that's a massive play because that's a walk-in touchdown if he makes that throw. My biggest issue with everything here is, and I know this term gets used in sports an awful lot and people get sick of hearing it, the result wasn't good. Obviously, you lose to the San Francisco 49ers in your home opener. You're 0-1. You're currently last place in the division. Lots of time, blah, blah, blah. The result was bad. The process to me was worse. One play action pass, I believe, is all they threw in that entire game. One. And
Don't get me started.
It might have been the first play of the game, too. And if it wasn't, it was very early in the contest. Yeah. The decision to kick the field goal near the end of that drive, just the fact that they just didn't look all that well prepared. It was one of my least favorite game plans that I saw from the Seattle Seahawks, particularly offensively. Defensively, not so much. I think the defense did their job. And then some. They should have. They had a hobbled Brock Purdy. They had the ghost of Jake Tonjes as one of their top targets in this game. Christian McCaffrey, I know he gets a lot of touches. I don't think he looked 100% whatsoever. They should have been dominant for the majority of that game. But my concern was more the process of the offense, the process of the game plan of, the balance was fine. 23 pass attempts, 26 rushing attempts. And the only reason you really get to 23 is because you have to air it out at the end of that game. But I just thought that the whole entire game plan for the Seattle Seahawks was much more concerning than any individual player that we saw on Sunday.
Let me follow that up, Chris Crawford, before I get to you, Corbin. What specifically about the game plan would you have liked to see something different?
I wanted to see more motion. I wanted to see more scheming to get guys open. Now, here's the other thing. Kenneth Walker and Cooper Kupp, I believe, did not play a single snap in the preseason, correct?
Yep.
Sure looked like it.
Yeah.
Sure looked like it. They just didn't look ready to go. Yeah. And that's disappointing because, okay, they didn't get those snaps against the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Raiders in games that mean absolute bubkiss. But they should have been prepared enough, right? There should have been enough work in this previous week. They looked awful. Both of those guys looked awful. And the fact that we didn't see better scheming to get those guys open, the tight end should have been more involved as well. Yep. You've got A.J. Barner, who is not an elite receiver, but you have Elijah Arroyo, who I think is going to be a problem in this league for a long time. I believe they combined for one target today, on Sunday. That's not going to work. That's just, 3. A.J. Barner, 1 reception for 0 yards, and Elijah Arroyo, 1 catch, 1 target, 1 reception for 7 yards. Get those guys involved. I don't understand why they weren't more involved. And in particular, all this talk about the fullback, all this talk about how you're going to be under center, all this talk about how it creates play action opportunities. Apparently not, because I just saw a very predictable, basic offense. And I know Turbo brought up, he said, hey, you don't want to give too much away. I think you got to have more urgency than they did. This was a massive football game.
I don't agree with that at all. It's the regular season now. Yeah. The real bullets are flying. Now, I'm not saying you open your whole playbook up.
Of course. Right. Yeah. You got to go.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I'm glad you did because I don't want to feel like a crazy person. Like, I understand that you don't open the entire playbook, But this was not Washington playing UC Davis. This was the Seahawks playing the San Francisco 49ers. And you know what? Their past failures against the 49ers absolutely mattered last week. 100% did. You are 1-7 against Brock Purdy. You have not won a game against your division rivals at home, which is where you're supposed to be dominant. The 12th man, all this stuff. And again, I thought the crowd was great on Sunday. But you got to start winning home games. The last time I think they won a home game was against someone. I don't even remember. Like, it came into my mind. I know they won one at some point.
They won their first two last year, and I'm trying to
right.
remember what the other one was in the middle of the season.
Because I remember they lost to the Giants at home last year, and that's when I really started to think that things could start to go bad for this team as well. But you have got to show more urgency. Just more urgency. The process has to be better, and the result wasn't there as well.
They beat Arizona. That was their last.
Right.
That was the last home win that they had last year.
That's
they went 3-6 in 9 home games last year.
Oof.
All right, Corbin, I know you've been raring to go in terms of the game plan. I have some follow-ups, but I want you to get in and follow up what you want for Chris on that one.
So if those of you that are listening, if you listen to our, the regular Locked On Seahawks, we kind of dove into this a little bit, but this is a longer form, so I can really go in a diatribe.
Dive deep. Let's go.
So first off, I want to piggyback off what Chris said with the one play action pass. They called 2 of them in this game. One of them, Sam Darnold, tucked and ran for 5 yards and got a first down. So that was an effective play. Even if you didn't throw the ball downfield, you got a first down. That is a successful play. And the other one was a 21-yard. Actually, I think it was longer than that. It was a 20-plus yard dime to Jackson Smith and Jigba on a corner route. And he was wide open. And Sam Darnold had nobody anywhere near him because it was a beautifully executed play-action pass. And I think that was in the first quarter. They didn't throw another one the rest of the game. They had an 8% play-action rate, which was easily the worst in the NFL this week. Like, I'm not asking Clint Kubiak to run 40% play action. No. But 8%? That's not good. Especially when you had some drives where the run game was doing enough that you could, sell that. They did not do it. The other thing that really bothered me in this game, if you look, I believe it was Sumer Sports that has the personnel groupings rankings. The Seahawks were 26th in the NFL this week in week 1 in using 12 personnel, which Clint Kubiak has always been in the top 5. They didn't play 2 tight ends on the field together hardly at all. Elijah Arroyo didn't even get to a 35% snap share in this game. I don't understand that. It hurt the running game, and I think it hurt their passing game. They could have sprinkled in more play action and bootlegs out of 2 tight end sets. That is a bread and butter thing. It felt to me like Clint Kubiak was, I don't want to say he was coaching scared, but it seemed like he was coaching from the mindset, well, my brother's over there, Kyle Shanahan's over there. I've got to change things up. And he took it way too far. And then you had that one drive with the throwback screen that went for negative 80 yards. And it was a disaster possession. You might as well have just punted on first down. So I felt like coaching was a huge reason they lost this football game.
Totally.
Okay, so my biggest thing about that is, why? Why was there only 2? Like, this seems very not on brand.
I think it was, I'm thinking too much. I'm trying to do something that they're not expecting me to do. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan was probably laughing like, the hell is he doing? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think it started with the very first play of the game. Like, you see that it was a good throw and it was a good play. Jackson Smith and Jigba makes that play. And maybe you're feeling like, haha, you guys thought we were going to ground and pound. No, we are going to open this thing up, baby. And then it was just from there. It's such basic, inept offense. Inept. You scored 1 freaking touchdown. That's not good enough.
Very little motion that would they had a 20% motion rate, Chris. But when I went back and watched it, you have to have a purpose to your motion.
Yes. Right.
And it felt like it was just, we just want to have somebody running across the formation. I didn't see the creative wrinkles getting guys like tight ends moving across and then wham blocking the other way and trying. San Francisco was doing that the entire game. They were sprinkling stuff like that in.
Sure.
It felt like Clint Kubiak was not calling plays is what it felt like to me.
And then we saw, just real quick, we also saw like Corbin, they had like, I think 7 of the first 15 plays had different personnel, but it doesn't really matter if you have different personnel, right? If you're just running basic offense, right? Like, okay, looks a little bit different here. Like you see the bringing in Cody White for some packages, bringing in, they do the early package with the Jalen Milroe, and then Jalen Milroe is not to be seen from again. Am I wrong there? Like, yeah, different formations and different groupings, but pretty much the same game plan, even with those guys coming in.
Yeah, it was just not a good game plan. It was not like there's no way to sugarcoat it, guys. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, I am going to say it. I could have called a much better game than that.
Well, there you go.
Like, I don't belong as an NFL offensive coordinator, but I could have called a better game plan than that. I don't understand the lack of play action, not having bootlegs in there. The run game was effective enough to do that stuff. Like, I would have understood it a little more if, like, dude, they're just stonewalling our run game and we're not going to be able to sell this. No, the one time they ran it, like, San Francisco had nobody near Sam Darnold. Like, it worked. Like, why are you not doing that? And getting him out with his legs a couple times, what it did, everything, it was positive. Why not sprinkle in some bootlegs? Run game is key to that. They were running well enough to be able to do that, though. And then you have 18 tight ends in your roster. Why are you not running multi-tight end sets? Like, it does not make sense.
One quick follow, like we talked about this on the squad show. Corbin, did you notice a lack of Robbie Oots as well? Like,
he played over 35% of the reps. Like that to me, it was how they used him.
Yeah.
I just,
as a novice watcher,
like
I didn't notice him very
much. Offense that we have been promised all off season. It felt like there was an imposter. Like, all I'm thinking is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a clown baby. Like, somebody else was calling plays. Like, it just, where was Clint Kubiak? That I kept watching the film, just like, this just does not even look like a Clint Kubiak offense. And I've watched tons of games dating back to when he was Vikings offensive coordinator last year in New Orleans, when he had a couple games in Denver. Like, I've never seen a game plan like that from him ever. And hopefully he looks back and says, all right, we're going to just hit the Ctrl-Alt-Delete button, and we're going to go back to what we do this week.
I love it. Yeah. And you mentioned, I think before we went live, and you might have actually said it at the top of the show as well, there were a lot more positives than negatives from this game. So I want to get into a couple of those on the other side of this break, because I think most Seahawks fans, right when they see the 17-13 loss at home versus San Francisco, you're 0-1, you're last in the division rivals in here, you see red on the broadcast, you're just fuming about everything. And it's understandable, right? It's an emotional game, football is, and like, you're tired of the kind of mid area that Seattle's in. You want to see them take that next step and be a true NFC contender. So I want to kind of dial it back a little bit. I want to talk about some of the positives in this, and then I want to talk about 2 players, maybe more on the negative side, on the other side of this break here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Don't go anywhere, but we will be right back. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you work in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, I don't know what you would be doing other than using Supply House, because it gives you everything you need. They have amazing customer service. It's the easiest way to get anything for any one of those projects delivered to you. And it's perfect for anyone who works in those industries. I highly recommend it, and they have some great offers as well. Like if you join the free Trade Master program and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line, you can visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst here, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith. We're talking a little more Seahawks 49ers, as I mentioned at the top of the show, a little more measured reaction. We've had a few days to digest it. We had some raw reaction right after the game on Sunday evening. I'm here with the experts to tell me, like, hey, you know, you don't have to, it's not DEFCON 1 yet, or maybe it is on some cases, but Corbin, you mentioned at the top of the show that there were more positives in this game than negatives. Where does your eye go when you're thinking that?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned at the beginning, Sam Darnold was one of the big ones for me going back and watching. I loved how quickly he was getting the ball out, the accuracy. I felt like his teammates let him down a little bit. As we mentioned, Kubiak let him down a lot with that game plan. I just thought it was really vanilla, and it just was not characteristic of what we normally see from a Kubiak or a Shanahan-style offense. But I want to start on the offensive side with another positive here. Zach Charbonnet, I just think he looks so comfortable in this run game. And I had a few people on social media that were trying to stew up some arguments today saying, well, he had way more to work with in front of him than what Ken Walker III did. There's some truth to that, but you got to look at all context. One set of numbers does not paint the entire picture. And he just looks more decisive. He looks more comfortable. He had a couple of missed tackles that he forced. Ken Walker III had none in his touches in this game. And there were a couple plays. There was one Anthony Bradford got destroyed by the guy across from him, got upfield, and Zach Charbonnet is supposed to be running to that side, but Charbonnet wisely cut back against the grain, and he created his own holes. And he ended up getting 6 yards in a play that initially looked like he was going to get hit in the backfield. You don't see that from Ken Walker III. And so that is why Zach Charbonnet is getting more carries, and I think he's going to continue to get more carries than Ken Walker III. Walker's obviously got the explosiveness to hit a home run, but Charbonnet just looks way more comfortable. And when he was in extended period, that's when Seattle was moving the ball in this game. It seemed like they just hit a brick wall when number 9 was in there. The offense was just not functioning as well. So I think that you can look at all these different numbers. Well, Charbonnet had way better yards per carry before contact, blah, blah, blah. Some of that's blocking, but some of it's the vision. There were several plays. He made that happen. And then, oh, by the way, he's getting extra yardage breaking tackles. And he had more than 1.5 yards more per carry after contact. So he was creating those opportunities for himself. That was a positive to me. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I know the fumble made it a little bit less or so, but he was dynamic. He looked like a true number 1 receiver and almost won this game single-handedly carrying that passing offense. So those are positives for me on offense. Defense, where do I start? There are so many exciting things. First off, if you thought Big Cat was going to take a step back this year, good God, the 49ers could not block him in this game. DeMarcus Lawrence was blowing guys up. Even if they weren't getting the ball, he was chipping the fullback 3 feet back into the end zone. He was doing all kinds of stuff that you aren't going to see in the box score, but just setting the tone, playing a physical brand of football. He had 2 tackles for loss, the only guy in the team that had multiple tackles for loss. I thought Jaron Reed played well. I thought Byron Murphy for the second was flying all over the place and making plays. Ernest Jones, the interception he had was remarkable. That play was set up by a timely blitz. A couple of their big plays, Drake Thomas on that one got to the QB. Julian Love on his blitz. That was a fire zone blitz, and he ran it perfectly away from where the play fake was at, so Christian McCaffrey couldn't get to him. There was so much on defense to be excited about. I know everybody's going to point to the Reek Woolen plays, and yes, I think that is a legitimate problem. I think I would love to be a fly in the wall going in the Seahawks coaching office right now and what they're talking about with that secondary. But I think there are so many things to be excited about with the way the defense played. And I know some people didn't like me using the word dominant because of the time of possession and the third down issues, but they had a span of possessions there where the 49ers got past the 44 straight possessions. They got 3 points and they got 2 interceptions. They got a couple of punts. They were, between those 2 touchdown drives, they were very, very good. Let's just put it that way. I think there's a lot of positives to take on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I concur with that. Chris, back to the running back conversation. I think a lot of people binarily think like, oh, that means Charbonnet should be running back one. Obviously almost every single NFL team at this point has some form of a two-headed monster.
Sure.
But should Charbonnet be the guy that you maybe lean on a little bit more? Should we see more of him in the offense instead of trying to get both these guys involved? Should it be, hey, we're going to ride the hot hand with Zach Charbonnet, as Corbin mentioned? If they had maybe used him a little bit more, they would have moved the ball a little bit more effectively, right? Considering how much is leaning on this running game. And then, you obviously still can sprinkle in some K9, but sure. I wonder what your thoughts on, adding more to the plate of Zach Charbonnet and him being more featured on this offense.
I think he has to be. And part of it is it's partially compliment to Charbonnet. It's also partially an insult's not the right word, but I just don't think he's ready. I don't think he's healthy. I don't think he's
K9
ready to go. Kenneth Walker, correct. I just don't think he's in full force, nor do I think he has a full grasp of how this offense works. And I always want to be careful when we say something like that. I'm not calling Kenneth Walker a dum-dum who doesn't understand a new playbook or anything of the sort. Let's just keep that. But I don't think he doesn't have the reps nor the rhythm. He doesn't quite get the gist of this offense is what I picked up on from last week as a novice. You keep calling me an expert and it's going to get me in trouble, Anders. I'm not telling you right now.
You're an expert compared to me.
Yeah, well, darning with fame. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all. Anders is so much smarter than me, and I absolutely hate it because it's not fun. It's not fun being the dumb one in that three-person thing. It's not fun. I hate being the dumb one. It's not fun. Stop it, Anders. Get dumber. Quickly. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker. It was so clear that Charbonnet was the more effective and the guy who fits better in this offensive scheme. Just fits so much better in what they are trying to do. On the defensive side, by the way, Josh Jobe was so good yesterday. So good. And now I will also say this for Josh Jobe real quick. He fit what the 49ers were trying to do. We're trying to do. Yeah. Those were receivers that are kind of tailor-made for what Josh Jobe is trying to do. A little nervous about what the Pittsburgh Steelers and their offense is going to do because I think Josh Jobe's going to play a hell of a lot more than Tariq Woolen is going next week. I think that's going to be part of that benching and part of that a compliment to what Jobe did. But he was so good yesterday. So very, very good. Ernest Jones, that's one of the best trades in Seahawks history. Absolutely one of the best trades. And all due respect to Jerome Baker, who has had a nice little NFL career, Ernest Jones is so much better of a football player than Jerome Baker and fits Mike McDonald's defense better than Jerome Baker did. Those two guys, the whole defense was great. The whole defense really was. Yeah, I wish they would have gotten on the field a couple. And honestly, you take away the 95-yard drive to open the game, the Seahawks defense looked so much better outside of that. Two bad plays from a guy who's supposed to be a well above average cornerback and just didn't play like it on Sunday. And it's a totally different game. Your defense they're going to be really, really good in 2025.
Corbin, how much of the defense success was the fact that, and the play that, the drive that Chris Crawford's talked about is the only drive that George Kittle played in. Juwan Jennings goes out later in the game. We find out that Brock Purdy was playing a little bit injured as well. I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate guy here and be the Debbie Downer, so to speak, but how much can be attributed to the fact that the Niners are already banged up?
So this is what I'm going to say about the Kittle thing. Nicky Manwari missed almost the entire game, and that was a huge part of the game plan for dealing with Kittle. And right when he went out, immediately they started picking on Tyakata because Seattle was trying to adjust on the fly, like, oh man, what do we do without number 3 out there? And they eventually figured things out. So I'm hesitant to just look at these injuries and say, obviously Kittle being out there without even worry, that would have been a nightmare for the Seahawks to have to try to deal with. But at the same time, they held Christian McCaffrey to 3.1 yards per carry. They really shut down the run for the most part. They had a lot of tackles in the backfield. The 95-yard touchdown drive, I know 49ers fans, there's been some calling me a homer, which, like, I'm just saying this from a reporter standpoint. I thought that roughing the passer penalty was BS.
It was sucked.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I thought that the holding penalty on Upton Stout was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that should have been called. Like, I think both of the team's touchdown drives to start the game shouldn't have been touchdown drives. I don't think those should have been called penalties. That's just my opinion. But I just thought defensively after that drive, and again, they had a chance to get off the field. I think there was a little bit like, oh man, what do we do? Nick Emanwari's not out here. That was a big part of their game plan. I think that kind of got to them a little bit, and then they were able to settle down. I thought the defense really, aside from those two plays, and again, it's just so frustrating because Reek Woolen, this wasn't a case like Ricky Pearsall in the locker room's talking about, oh, yeah, on film study, we knew he was going to bite on the double move. He didn't bite on the double move. He was perfectly
He was in the right position.
Play on that football, and he just lost. I mean, there was no sun, so I don't know where he lost the football, but he just lost track of it. And then the other one, he made Tongas look like Dwight Clark sweeping in front of him because he didn't. McDonald said he aggressively played the football. I didn't see that. I saw him passively drifting out of bounds. Go get the football and end the game. Like, those are things from a fourth-year cornerback you expect. Like, if he was a rookie, like, okay, we understand. Or even year two, you're still kind of inexperienced. Like, it's year four.
Yeah.
Giving up one of those plays, okay, let's move on. But then doing pretty much back-to-back there, and it's unfortunate because Josh Jobe, like, that dude was all over the place.
Yeah, he was.
Blew up McCaffrey in the run game, which Woolen has been so inconsistent as a run defender his entire NFL. Josh Jobe's like, I'm all about that smoke. I'm going to come up and hit you. And he did it to Deebo Samuel in a couple of games against the 49ers last year. I absolutely – I mentioned this on social media, and I'm going to keep saying it. There are a handful of guys in this defense that I think are 1A Mike McDonald players. Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Leonard Williams.
Ernest Jones.
I would put Ernest Jones in that category as well. I think Devin Witherspoon fits that. And I think Josh Jobe is absolutely a 1A Mike McDonald player. I might not be the most athletic dude, but I'm pesky. I'm a grinder. I'm physical. I'm tough. I have a really high football IQ. And I'm always hungry. I want to be rewarded. I want more opportunities. He is one of those guys. And I took Mike McDonald. I was the one that asked him yesterday about Josh Jobe. Like, I took his comments. He's a very straight shooter. I took his comments as like, oh yeah, he's coming for Reek Woolen's playing. That's how I took it.
Sure. So is it as simple as, okay, you play Reek Woolen less, you play Josh Jobe more, swap him in the depth chart?
To an extent, but like, here's the thing, like, without Nick Emanwari, Devin Witherspoon's going to be playing the slot now primarily again. So if you're a nickel, you're going to have Reek Woolen out there with Josh Jobe. So I don't know that it changes that much unless Seattle decides, and I talked to a few of the reporters about this, I don't think this is impossible. I could see Seattle just saying, you know what, if Emanwari's going at IR, let's just go to Shaquille Griffin and get him up on the active roster. Okay, Shaquille, can you start for us? I would not be shocked if they ended up doing that to kind of send a message. I don't know if McDonald's going to try to do that again. He tried to do it last year, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did because he's looking for guys that are going to finish plays and play smart football.
Yep.
Smart football with like an edge, as you mentioned with Josh Jobe. And it just seems like too often Reek Woolen doesn't have it. So hopefully, because he has the athletic traits, man. We've seen him like make those plays before. It's just it's frustratingly inconsistently translated onto the field. So, okay, let's wrap it there before we kind of move towards next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know it's only Tuesday, but the next time we will be convening will be after the Pittsburgh Steelers game on Sunday. So I want to know what you guys think about going up against Aaron Rodgers, going up against DK Metcalf. Their defense looked like it kind of struggled a little bit against the Jets, just from a guy who watched it sort of live. Is that something that the Seahawks can maybe get right game offensively? It's the first road game of the season. There's a lot of things to break down here on the Seahawks Squad Show. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at the Steelers coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The fun thing about FanDuel is it's not, you just think, hey, I'm just betting on a game, or hey, I'm just betting on a player. No, there's so much stuff you can do. There's over-unders. There are props for time of possession. There are props for all sorts of fun things that you can do. And, you set your lineup if you're playing daily fantasy, but if you're playing daily fantasy and you feel like you need to do a little bit more responsibly, you can do that with FanDuel. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith. We go live twice a week, once during the week, and then the second episode is always a post-game show. So if you need live, raw reaction on your Locked On Seahawks channel, you can get it here from the Squad Show. I know Corbin and Rob still do their own as well, so you can get all the content you need here. And you can get it from all of our experts. I'm not one of them. So let's get that out of the way. I'm the guy who asks the questions and then I get told how to feel, and it feels great. So I love it. I have the easiest job in the world.
You're the dude that dresses up like another dude and plays another dude, right?
Exactly. I lean into the role a little bit more. Yeah. So I'm so happy to have these guys with me. We're looking ahead to the Steelers now. They want to know, I don't know the exact score. I probably should know this. They won a high scoring, I think it was like 34-32 over the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers looked a little bit, he got his revenge game in week 1. DK Metcalf seems like he's going to get or look for his revenge game in week 2. We'll see how that works out. Just real quick, since it's the obvious connection here, Chris, how impressed were you with DK on his new team?
Pretty impressed. I think that's going to be a nice little matchup, and I'm not surprised. I'm a huge DK Metcalf fan, and while I understood the trade, I can't blame the Seahawks for making the trade. It's one that we'll think about for a while, because I think DK Metcalf's going to be a problem in this league for a while. I'll be honest, my biggest concern with this game is going to be, so I thought Ernest Jones played terrifically inside linebacker. I do not think Tyrese Knight played terrifically whatsoever, and I don't think that dude is healthy, and I am kind of nervous about what these tight ends are going to do, because Jonnu Smith was very heavily involved. I think Arthur Smith loves Jonnu Smith or more than any of us love any of our relatives. Like, I just think that those two guys are just made to be together. There's just a love between those two.
More than your son, JP Crawford?
Well, much more than my son lately, JP Crawford, who's hitting 9th today, thankfully. That's one of my biggest concerns is how those because Tyrese Knight's going to have to be a big part of this defense. Drake Thomas played okay, on that interception, made a nice blitz that caused a poor decision from Brock Purdy there, so we'll give him credit there. But I have some concerns about how the linebackers are going to play in this game. But back to answering your question, DK Metcalf's a really good player. Is a really, really good football player, and I do not like Josh Jobe on DK Metcalf. I do not think that that's going to be a matchup. As well as Josh Jobe played, that is not a matchup that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's the narrative going into the game that, he looked like he was reaching his potential finally. He had 4 catches on 7 targets for like 70 yards. Like, I just want to pump the brakes a little bit before I go in and be like, oh, he's finally figuring it out with Aaron Rodgers. And then maybe that does happen on Sunday, but it just seems like it's almost a little like, oh, because he's not on your team, you're already like kind of anointing him as the next thing. And Corbin, I don't know. Is it something that you're worried about, as Chris kind of expressed there going into on Sunday? Not just in terms of the revenge factor, but just the matchup against someone like DK.
I think Reek Woolen is still going to get the majority of snaps against him. And again, it's because they're going to be playing a lot of nickel, and they're going to have him and Job on the field anyway. I think Woolen's going to get a lot of snaps. I think Witherspoon will get some snaps on him too when they're in base. And I'm comfortable that both those guys can at least hang with DK. They've gone against him in practice. I've watched both those guys do. I saw Job have some good reps against him on the practice field too. So look, at the end of the day, Metcalf has elite speed with his size, the downfield capability. It's going to be something the Seahawks didn't necessarily have to worry about this last week, though Ricky Pearsall got him a couple times. So they're going to have to make sure they have their coverage stuff buttoned up so they don't let him get free. And the other thing that scares me a little bit about this game is that he's not the only guy with speed. Calvin Austin had a great game on Sunday, and he's another little speedster that can really create havoc in space, and you can do some stuff with him in the run game. So, is Josh Job going to match up against him? That still might be a speed disadvantage, though Job's got size on him. So I think that might be a little bit better, whereas Metcalf, it's like, well, you're faster and you're bigger than me, which he has pretty much against any corner.
Everyone.
Close you're going to get. But, I think the tight end concern is valid. I think the receivers on the outside, the speed aspect. To me, what is the thing that could ultimately cancel that out? I am not impressed with Pittsburgh's offensive line. In spite of what they did this last week, I think Seattle's defensive front can tear them apart. And Aaron Rodgers cannot move anywhere close to like Brock Purdy can. And so we saw it last year. I think the Seahawks can get after Aaron Rodgers and put him in a world of hurt. And I think they can bottle up the run game. The Steelers did not do much at all running the ball last week. This is not the 49ers from last week. So I think in the trenches, Seattle's got a big advantage there that could mitigate those opportunities to be able to get the ball downfield.
Chris, this kind of ties into this game because of what Corbin just said, but also I want to get your thoughts because I forgot to ask this during our review of the Niners game. What was your evaluation of the pass rush specifically? I know we talked about the interior of the defensive line and how well it played. It still seemed like to me, and I'm not saying it's a weakness by any stretch of the imagination, but it still seemed like to me they weren't able to get really a pressure on Brock Purdy unless they were blitzing Devin Witherspoon or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty average at best. Like I expect more out of those edges. I thought that the edges did a much better job actually setting the edges in terms of stopping the run. I thought DeMarcus Lawrence actually did a really nice job with that, which is no surprise. But Corbin and I have talked about it. DeMarcus Lawrence is a really good football player, and it's something he does really, really well. But yeah, they got to get after the quarterback a little bit more. I think that the well-timed blitzes sort of kind of maybe forgot that you didn't get a ton of pressure on Purdy in this game. And
by rushing four.
Rushing four. Correct. Yeah. And I do think that if the Seahawks defense is going to be elite, they're going to have to get more interior rush, like where you can play 7 in coverage, rushing 4, rushing 5, so on and so forth. That is going to be important for this defense. Yeah, I want to see more. I want to see more from Boye Mafe. I want to see more from Derek Hall. I want to see more from, even the interior. By the way, every time I watch Deron Reed, I am reminded that his skill set has changed so much because he was drafted out of Alabama as like, he's a great run defender, but can he ever get to the quarterback? And now he's like pass rush specialist guy that sometimes you don't want in on first and second down. It's crazy how much that can change in such a absolute heartbeat. But yeah, I want to see the defensive line create more pressure on Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Corbin, do you agree with that assessment? What did you think about the pass rush without blitzing?
I thought Boye Mafe had some really nice pass rushes where he used his hands well. Derek Hall had a couple times that he was right in the cusp of getting to Brock Purdy, but it was a game where there were a lot of snaps where they weren't able to get pressure with that front line. And I do think there is a good chance Uchenna Nwosu plays this week. And I think that will help having him out there. I'd like to see Jared Ivey be active. I think having another guy with some power on the edge could be helpful for this team. I don't know if we'll actually see it or not, but take advantage of Pittsburgh's offensive line, particularly the tackles. And I think you can do that in this game. It's a better matchup. You don't have a Trent Williams on this team. even playing at 80%, Trent Williams is still like top 3 tackle in the NFL. So I think this is a game that the edges can have a lot more success getting after Aaron Rodgers. And again, Aaron Rodgers ain't going to be scrambling away and outrunning Derek Hall out to the right. That ain't happening. He's going to get tripped up. So at minimum, he could get decked too. So you might have to get Mason Rudolph ready in that case. I think this is a game that if they can't get pressure, that is a major concern. If they can't do it, this should be a game that Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy, their edges can go get after guys. And if they struggle here, I'm going to say it again, he still hasn't signed. Go get Jadeveon Clowney. Like, I don't understand why that move. Because, look, I've talked to people. He's talked to the Seahawks. Like, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. But if they're not able to consistently get pressure off the edge, like, that's a guy that has shown he can do it on this scheme. He's done it before. Go get him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that one of Aaron Rodgers' worst games last year came against Mike McDonald, right?
Yep.
And so he knows both sides of it, I guess. You have a knowledge of it. Aaron Rodgers being one of the smarter quarterbacks and more veteran quarterbacks, he knows what to look for, I guess, now if he's really studying the film. But Mike McDonald obviously has some success planning for it's obviously not the same team, same scheme, all that stuff. But he has some success planning for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. So I'm curious to see how that plays out come Sunday. Okay. On the other side of the break, I want to get into the other side of the ball. The Seahawks offense against the Steelers defense, who I think most people did not expect the Jets to score 32 points against that Steelers defense. So maybe that can be a little bit of a get-right game for Seattle offensively, especially if we do the things that we talked about earlier in this episode. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the keys to getting things right offensively. And then Nostradamus will make his reappearance as we predict what the game will be. On the other side of the break here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you in just a second. NFL season is back, finally. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. If you're one of those fans that gets really frustrated seeing all the red on the broadcast from the 49ers fans in Seattle, you can easily take advantage of that by going to Gametime. Maybe the other resale sites are not a good friend of yours in terms of getting in that stadium. Do your part as a 12. Get in that stadium. Be loud for the next time you have the opportunity at Lumen Field. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime app today. Welcome back to Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith with you. We broke down a little bit of the 49ers film, a little couple days of, after digesting the results and the film a little bit. We kind of gave you a breakdown of what we saw. And now we're looking ahead at the Steelers. We talked a little bit Seahawks defense versus Steelers offense. Let's look at the other side of the ball. Seahawks offense versus Steelers defense. Just as someone who did not watch the entire game, of course, the Steelers versus the Jets, who did not, obviously watch that all 22 of it either. But the Jets scoring 32 points, I didn't have on my bingo card. So, Corbin Smith, is this a team that the Seahawks can kind of get right against?
As long as you don't let TJ Watt or Cam Hayward take over. That's the big key with the offensive line, because even with the change they made in the secondary, Jalen Ramsey's playing kind of that star position now where he's a safety corner hybrid. They brought in Darius Slay, who is definitely the tail end of his career, still a good player, but it feels like they got older and maybe not necessarily better in that secondary. I mean, he traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's viewed as one of the best safeties in the league, to Miami. That trade is not helping the Dolphins out right now, but I think this is a defense that's got some significant questions. I think their linebackers are suspect. I think their secondary's got some holes. They were letting Justin Fields throw dimes on them all over the place. And no offense to Justin Fields, but that's not necessarily been his game. And maybe he's taken a big step this year. But if I'm the Seahawks looking at that, I'm thinking, and they didn't stop the run well either. The Jets ran the football well, and they mixed in some QB runs. So we could see some Jalen Milroe in this game, and it would make sense to me. Just don't do it in the middle of a drive where you're really doing well. Don't put yourself in a position where it can stun things. But I think this is a game that they have the ability to be able to impose their will and move the football and put points on the board. The Steelers still got some real studs on that defense, but they've also got a lot of big question marks to me. So can you find, and this is what we said when I was coaching, find the rat. I think the Steelers have a couple of rats that you can exploit, and you game plan for it. And I also think this is a team that you can get your tight ends going against some. So please, Clint Kubiak, 12 personnel at more than 5% of the time. Please use your tight ends. I think in the run game and in the passing game that this is an opponent that, again, when you're looking for the weak spots, there are weak spots in that defense. They've got a few guys that I think you can absolutely attack. And make sure that you're getting extra help on TJ Watt so he doesn't take over the game. I would feel comfortable with Seattle being able to win this game if they are able to do those two things. One, keep TJ Watt from completely imploding your game plan. Make sure you got extra protection help and find those rats in this secondary and at the second level that you can absolutely exploit with your guys.
Looks like the St. Louis Cardinals found the rat on the Seattle Mariners, and he plays in left field.
If anybody saw my head, just absolutely.
I know, I did.
Shrink in despair. Goodness.
Anywho, Chris Crawford, let's if you can change your name to Nostradam, Chris, real quick, that'd be great. Okay. You might not have to. Yeah, if you can't, that's fine. Don't. Okay, he's doing it. Let's go. Corbin, how do you think this game's gonna go? Prediction: Seattle get to 1-1, or we drop to 0-2?
Well, I will save my actual score prediction for my Locked On Seahawks show coming up on Thursday. The crossover show is always when I give my score. But I'm going to say this. I know a lot of fans are viewing this game from a point of desperation because of what the Steelers did last week, what the Seahawks did last week. Week 1 is almost always not a good indicator of what's going to happen during the season. There are exceptions to that, but I remember the season the Lions went winless. In week 1, they looked like they were going to be formidable. And then rest of the season was just an absolute horror show for Detroit fans. There's been a lot of times I've seen teams come out and look terrible and then win 4 games in a row. Week 1 is such a crapshoot. Week 2 is when you start to have game planning incorporated. I'm confident in Mike McDonald and his staff, their ability to game plan. I'm confident that Clint Kubiak can. I hope he's doing a lot of soul searching here these last couple of days and finding what he wants to do on offense, rediscovering that. I think Seattle has the better team on paper than what Pittsburgh does. I know playing at Pittsburgh's been a house of horrors for the Seahawks over the years. They've had a lot of really bad games there, lost in overtime the last time they were there.
Yeah.
But I think Seattle has the ingredients to be able to get this offense humming this week. And I think they've got the pieces on defense that the Jets didn't have that I think that they can take advantage. I just think they have a better overall defensive line than what the Jets do. I think they can really get after Aaron Rodgers and hurt this run game. So I'm not necessarily sure if I'm picking the Seahawks yet, but I think Seattle, I'll say this, I think Seattle overall has the better roster of these two teams.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought that in week 1 too, and like you said, it can be a crapshoot. You don't have a lot of preparation, film to go off of. Obviously, you can go for last year, but and I agree with you that there's a lot of situations where week 1 can be not indicative of what's going to happen throughout the rest of the year. But if you go 0-2, that kind of
that's a different conversation, Andrew.
That is a very different conversation. So, Chris Crawford, what's your prediction since Nostradamus Chris has now come into the chat?
Nostradamus Chris is here, and he's not happy that he has to be here. The reason he's not happy is this is more of a math thing than a feel thing or a X's and O's thing. The Seattle Seahawks were historically good on the road last year. They went 7-1. Historically, teams that win a lot of road games the year before do not do so well on the road the next year. And Anders, when we did our schedule preview thing, I predicted the Seahawks to lose a lot of road games.
Yeah,
and I'm not changing my opinion. I just don't think that they are a good enough football team to go into Pittsburgh and win. And the fact that they were so good on the road last year, the Seahawks may be the exact same talent and maybe even better than that in terms of their ability to win on the road. I just don't think they're going to. And so I see a close game. I think the Seahawks are going to play a lot of close football games this year, but I'm going to say that the Seahawks lose 28-24. And I think DK Metcalf goes for 680 and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, game-winning touchdown would not feel good.
The game-winning touchdown will be Pat Freiermuth, and it'll be on some sort of waggle that just infuriates everyone.
Okay, I really hope Nostradamus Chris is not correct, but knowing his name, Nostradamus Chris, let's hope that's not the case.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Seahawks win. I agree with Corbin. I think the Seahawks have the better roster. I almost am gonna go kind of the math discussion that you did, Chris, and I think the Steelers are good. I don't think they're as hyped up as a lot of people are making them out to be. So I think I see a little bit of regression from their offense come in this game, because I think the Seahawks defense is notably better than the Jets defense as well. So it'll be an interesting kind of different look for both sides, because this is a completely different team than the Niners for the Seahawks, and it's a completely different team than the Jets for the Steelers. So this will be a good indication of how teams can adjust for these guys moving forward. Hopefully the Seahawks, and that's where I just believe in Mike Macdonald to kind of get things right a little bit and really just soul search. I'm with you, Corbin. Just do what you are known to do. Lean into it. Let's go.
The great football teams don't worry. You make little wrinkle adjustments to go against the team you're playing at, but you don't suddenly decide we're no longer a West Coast team. We're going to run this. Good offensive coordinators do not do that. You run your bread and butter and you make the adjustments to that to be able to combat what the other team is doing. That's what the great play callers do. And you add little wrinkles here and there. That's what great teams do. The Seahawks got to get to that identity this week.
Totally agree. And without I'm trying to look at the schedule from last year anyway. It seemed like the Seahawks were pretty good off a loss last year as well. So I think Mike Macdonald will have the guys ready to play. All right. There was 2 in a row last year. There was 2 in a row. So that's far, or 2 of them actually, against Packers, Vikings, and then Bills, Rams as well. So, couple situations where you play a couple of really good teams, but other than that, I think you're in good shape. That's not going to be the same this week. All right, I really appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. Anderson Hirst, Nostradamus Chris, and Corbin Smith have been with us. Really appreciate you two kind of helping me decipher what to think regarding week 1, looking ahead to week 2, checking out the film. Corbin, where can we catch your work for Locked On Seahawks and for Emerald City Spectrum?
Well, obviously, if you're listening to the Seahawks Squad Show, Locked On Seahawks is in the same place on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure to check out EmeraldCitySpectrum.com. If you liked the film dive on the show today, there was plenty I didn't talk about that I will be unleashing. That might be up late tonight because it's going to take me a little while to get it typed up. But got some real fun stuff coming your way on EmeraldCitySpectrum.com. Just $6 a month or $60 for an entire year. And we've got coverage of 10 teams on the site.
Chris, where can we get your work?
Locked On Sports, NBC Sports /RotoWorld, MyOY. Check all that stuff out. It's very much appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you all. We'll talk to you guys after the game on Sunday. Hopefully we have a little bit better of a post-game show for you here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Really appreciate it. Like the video if you haven't already. We'll talk to you guys later. Go.